Need a presenter? Your Event Audio has you covered. Closed-circuit audio equipment with turnkey operation at your trade show booth, live event, or private event. YourEventAudio.com is the place to go. DJ services, MC talent, and a whole lot more. Check out YourEventAudio.com today.
Craving ideas to ignite your face-to-face marketing program? Join us at Exhibitor Live, the conference and exhibition for trade show and corporate event marketers in Nashville, February the 25th through the 28th. Dive into over 100 electrifying sessions and workshops led by industry rock stars, where you'll learn to skyrocket your ROI, master the art of creating experiences, and forge connections that will take your program and your career to the next level. Secure your spot now and turn your trade show dreams into reality at exhibitorlive.com.
It's February the 9th, 2024. It's time for another edition of Exhibitor Now podcast. I'm Mike Morrison, National Sales Director for WS Display. Of course, as you see on your screen there, Mark Johnson joins us from Las Vegas. Our live correspondent, by the way, for the Live Golf Tournament that's going on right out his back door. The pro golfers are playing as we speak. It's Thursday, so I guess this was round one of that event?
Yeah, so this is a 3-day event. As the LIV Tour is a little different than the PGA. It's 54 holes versus the 72, and so they do it in 3 days. They do a shotgun start, so it's not off the tee times and they're coming, so they do the shotgun start. The music is blaring in the background, so you can see and hear that a little bit. It's more of a party atmosphere. The pros wear shorts. They won't be wearing shorts today because it is, well, what is it? It's actually 48 degrees right now in Vegas as they're getting ready to start the next hole here with that. So a lot of stocking caps are still going on as the players are moving around in front of me here and that stuff with that. So and they were out yesterday. They had their pro-am, so I saw Phil Mickelson and Ian Poulter and some of the other guys out there with about it. But it's a whole different atmosphere here in Vegas. We've got the roofing show here, and was with a client last night in an event where they actually had a fundraiser, and we had Leonard Skinner there, so we got to see a little Leonard Skinner, some neat stuff. But just to get around town, this morning I got up early and took some of the team to the airport. 30-minute drive is now an hour plus. There's a 500,000 people in town this week that aren't normally there for the Super Bowl, for the show, for the LIV. And there's a fight tonight. There's a major boxing event tonight or tomorrow night too. So crazy time here in Vegas, as there always is crazy, but it's off the charts right now.
I can imagine. Super Bowl weekend, of course. We ought to have a Taylor Swift cut in here just at any time now. You'll see a shot of her coming in. Everybody's looking forward to that. But the only thing that did come to mind is the most recent announcement about the Tropicana being demolished, which is making way, of course, for the Oakland Athletics to move into town. Second Oakland team, by the way, to come into Las Vegas. Doesn't really do much for us. It has some legacy there, but from a trade show event standpoint, it's just a situation where it's time to remove old property to make future moves for tomorrow. Is that your take on it?
Yeah, and actually, I've got a meeting here in a few hours with the mayor, and she's got a very interesting perspective. Her point of view is, no, I actually think Oakland, the A's should stay there and try to make it work. Their legacy and their history with it. Now she's like, no. Vegas wants a team. And if we can get a team, we're going to support them and embrace them and go through that. But she believes in the legacy of the Oakland A's staying there. So I want to get her perspective on it. But yes, that's the big thing that's been committed to it. But Vegas has totally turned around with the sports teams, the hockey, the football, now with baseball coming, and we hear NBA is right around the corner. This is going to continue to be the entertainment destination for a long time to come.
Absolutely. The UFI Global Barometer dropped and showed, by the way, that the outlook for 2024 is very positive. We've been saying that the whole time, at least after January's slate of shows breaking records across the board. What was interesting, though, that it caught my eye was they're saying that there should be an average growth of 15% across the board. But I seem to remember in earlier reports that it was going to be a little less double-digit growth and single-digit growth. Did I miss something there, or what is your take on that?
No, that was the numbers that we've heard from SEER and all the other organizations we've been talking to. In the high single digits is what they were forecasting for growth this year, and then continuing to grow for several years. But I appreciate UFIs, and I can see it. All the exhibit houses that we're talking to, they're swamped. They can't keep up. So the volume is still there. We have this fear of the recession, but our clients hesitate a little bit, but it's still going. Worse, the roofing show that's going on right now. If you want to regulate it by beer, one of our clients is in the roofing show and they have kegs of beer. They went through double the kegs they forecasted for the first day, and that was based on last year's show. So tells me either they're more thirsty or there's more people.
Drinking beer on top of a roof, not a good thing, but glad to hear that they're positive on that. Final point before we get into a great interview with Charles Pappas from Exhibitor Group. A resolution has been reached, apparently, with the general contractor Freeman regarding hanging displays and engineering stamps. Through a collaborative effort of ESCA, EACA, and EDPA, revisions were made such that all stamps, engineering stamps, are accepted regardless of the location and the year, provided no modifications were made to the structure. That should be a good thing moving forward, right? Being uniform across the board.
Yeah, that's all we asked for. And I feel so good that we were able to help broadcast some of that. Exhibitor's been trying to play a role in it, but also you and I are involved in all those associations and we've been in those conversations. And when you bring those groups together, it's just that's the power of the community. And that's a lot of the things that we've been trying to do and talking to everybody in the industry. What makes sense? How do we work with it? And then communicate it so we all can plan ahead of time. That was the big thing we were going for. But it was great news. Yeah, we heard that and saw that last week with some of our clients. And internally, my team saw it before I did, to be honest.
If you're familiar with Charles Pappas, it was on our show earlier in 2023. Great guy to talk to, has all the insights on the magazine as well as what's coming up for Exhibitor Live. Let's take a time out and have a conversation with Charles Pappas here on Exhibitor Now podcast right after this. Attention, trade show and event marketing professionals. Are you ready to take your face-to-face marketing expertise to the next level? Join more than 3,000 candidates currently enrolled in Exhibitor Group's Certified Trade Show Marketer Program. CTSM is corporate America's top source of the industry's best trade show and corporate event training. CTSM certified trade show marketers enjoy expanded career opportunities, greater respect and authority in their organizations, and earn higher salaries than their acronym-free peers. Learn more, earn more. Visit ctsm.com today. Welcome back to Exhibitor Now podcast. As you can tell, we're a little earlier in the week, and Mike has a little bit of a Barry White thing going on with his voice because I got through the whole month of January without anything. Now, all of a sudden, the scratchy throat thing happens, and now I sound like Barry White. But that's neither here nor there because we've got a great interview this morning. It's the second of a three-part series we're doing here on Exhibitor Now, which talks to key people within the organization at Exhibitor Group and will have key impact on Exhibitor Live coming up in just a couple of weeks, folks. We're once again right around the corners, rushing up on us very quickly. And with us right now is Charles Pappas. Of course, many know him from the writer's side of Exhibitor Magazine. So I'm going to turn the reins over to Mark and let him have a cool discussion and an updated discussion and high impact voice of what's going on with the magazine as well as Exhibitor Live show coming up.
Thanks, Mike. I was just wondering maybe the voice you were at the Grammys and you were singing up there with Billy Joel and everybody else going on this week. Maybe that's what caused it, but glad to see you here. And Charles, it's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you. It's just, you're one of my most favorite people in the world. So thank you so much for joining us again today.
Oh, this is always fun, Mark. And also just because we get to talk about the things we do every day, but also to show our enthusiasm for it because we're recreating this all over again, which is kind of cool.
Well, let's start with that. So you are one of the senior, and I'm senior, so that gets into we both get a discount at the movie theater and the pie store when we want. But you've been around for a while, so you've seen a lot of changes in the last year in the team. So maybe you want to start out with our listeners and talk about what is going to be different this year. What are some of the highlights that you're seeing?
Well, let me just back that up a minute before I complain to HR about the senior mentions there. But, Mark, what kind of struck me when I was thinking about today, about going on and talking to you about this is I've been there 22 years, and what I've seen change is kind of fantastic because I go back to the point where people still had paper Rolodexes, fax machines, cell phones, Mark, were an object of controversy 20 plus years ago because there was talk, there was debate about should we ban them from exhibitor live sessions, believe it or not. Because again, the if you will, the etiquette of using them was still kind of in flux then, and people are in sessions looking at their phones, talking on their phones or texting, I should say. But now we've kind of surrendered to that, and it's just a given during social interaction that this might occur. But I really do want to take you back to that and tell you that's how controversial it was and how much has changed. But what I'm seeing now, Mark, is evolution. Not so much revolution, because that would suggest we've torn everything apart, but rather we've taken the strengths of exhibitor, especially pre-COVID exhibitor live, and we said, what can we really do to enhance it? What do people want? And I think a couple factors are in play here. We all know post-COVID reality. Plus, a lot of the generation coming in are new to us. I think 50% of attendees here will be new, which just gobsmacks me that many people are new to the organization. And what I'm seeing, which is kind of cool, is that there's more of a Gen Z attitude, meaning things like self-care and self-development are more important than ever before in what we're conveying to people. Now, 22 years ago, was it non-existent? No, but it didn't have the emphasis we're putting on it today to respond to what our audience wants. And I have to say, just as someone who's watched the show grow, become hyper popular, this is what we need to do to give people what they want to be the premier show of shows in the trade show industry. So, I'm thinking right now, we're nearing our 40th year at the show. So, but what do you see? 100 educational sessions, something like 75 experts and thought leaders are there. That's never changed. But what has changed is, we've got sessions coming up on, I think, translating healthcare exhibit strategies for trade show success. That's kind of new. And one I'm really intrigued by, taught by Daya El-Ghazar, the impact of AI for exhibitions and events. And everyone's going to want to know about that this year. The other thing I kind of like is there's a course on advanced learning session for Elevate Your Leadership, taught by some people from Searchwide Global, which is an executive recruitment firm. Now, it's not just a session, Mark. They're going to be set up in the square, giving career advice, which I absolutely love. So whether you're the head of a firm, you're a novice starting out, they can come in and they will have a session tailored to your particular needs to get ahead. How do you better yourself? How do you advance in your career? This is something kind of new, but again, it goes back to self-development is really huge with our audience. But what were we doing? We could do better. This year, we're doing better with it and really giving people something they need. I'm excited about this because I love change that's going to kind of advance the trade show industry.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And talking about the career development, yeah, we're seeing the research as you are, that's just a huge issue for people going forward. And as you said, there's tiers in there from the beginning, the novice coming in, just starting in their career, to the more senior. And how do I really move to the next level, or what do I want my legacy to be? And they've got a program in place that's really going to help everybody. Yeah, simple headshots, but that makes a big difference too. But there's a depth of counseling and coaching with them that's also going to be there for the people who want to participate.
That's right. And like you said, headshot seems like a small thing, but to get a nice professional one for free, well, what's wrong with that? So again, you're touching on all these little areas that people often overlook, but which we're trying to kind of check the box on. a brand touches base with people in so many various ways, and our brand has to touch people, whether it's with the exhibits on the show floor, which as usual will likely be outstanding, or just things they need to take care of their career. They're not going to touch every one of these points, but they're going to touch 2, 3, 4 of these points, and we've got to be there to give it to them. And that's kind of what I like about it too. And when you get back, look at our development program, CTSM, right? We've got many diamond level people teaching. And I like to say we've got more diamonds than Tiffany, because you've got some of the long-standing people like Glenda Brungart, who was with HP for so many years, and now she's branching out on her own. We've got, and she is a wealth of information and experience. We've got Catherine Chestnut, who is another diamond, but she's sort of branched out into being an author on self-care in the industry. And again, 20 years ago, this wouldn't have held sway as much, but now we have a demographic that needs it. So we're meeting that need head on. And again, where are we this year? Nashville. We were in Vegas as a regular for year in, year out for a long time, but now we're kind of like Taylor Swift doing a tour around the country. So, we're going to hit different areas, and I think really enjoy those areas, because we showed with Louisville, we could localize the experience. We had so many local themed exhibits and activities. We'll do the same for Nashville, and the cities we move on to after that, we're going to do the same there too. And this is a trend starting at a global level with the World Expos that I am really proud to say we are following up on almost better than anybody else.
No, I think that's great. And early in the conversation there, you were talking about our touching with the exhibitors on the floor. Our tech tours, those conferences or the education that's in that was one of the first things that sold out. So it's a chance for the students to actually go, or the CTSM participants to go on the show floor, see the suppliers, and they get a chance to show what's new and what's going on with it and their products and showcase with it. That was one of the first things that, like I said, sold out with it. So there's a huge connection with that. We have some major corporation represented in the diamonds that are really presenting the stories. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on a senior moment. Who's the gentleman from Intel that's doing the big program for us?
Victor Torregrosa.
Yes. Victor does a
brilliant.
fabulous job. Yeah.
He does. Isn't he though? Yes. And the tech tours, which is we started a few years ago, and they were popular, and we've kind of tweaked them and evolved them kind of cleverly, I think. But what's kind of nice for people is simply that you get what you came to the show for, to get insight on tools I might need, but in a more focused area. Because when there's kind of the free-for-all on the show floor, how much time do you have for each exhibit? But this way we can narrow it down to, let's say, 10 or 12 or whatever the number is. They each get a chance to have a limited time spiel. Then you can go and you can hear their talking points, their main points. A few follow-up questions are usually possible, but you come away really educated and knowledgeable about the tools they offer. Now, Mark, if I'm not mistaken, I think at this moment, I think a couple spots may still be open for any exhibitor who wants to take part, but you're right. And kind of to my amazement, for just attendees, it's sold out like hotcakes. I mean, it just sold out, which is, I think, wonderful, but wow, was I surprised it went that fast.
Yeah, and it continues to send the message to the suppliers and the people in the organization or the industry that are supporting the CTSMs. It is important. It's where they're coming to see what's new and who their partners are and where they can go forward with it. And it's a great opportunity. Yeah, if you're exhibiting, you get to showcase some of your stuff with that. On top of it, again, let's go to Jim Gilmore. His classes every year are so much fun and so educational. He's got a program too, and there's still a few spots on a few of those that the people attending should take a hard look at. He loves the field trips, and if you haven't been on a Jim Gilmore field trip, it is well worth your time to experience his perspective, his brain, and the interaction that you have with the rest of the group. He does it so collaboratively. It's just a treat to be there.
Mark, you touched on something kind of interesting here with Jim. He will leave you smarter than before you came to him. You really do feel like this is a guy that I am smarter for having known him and for having gone to his classes or on his tours. And what's kind of cool about Jim is I have actually seen him referenced at the World Expos by people running the Saudi pavilions, the Dubai pavilions, all of these people who have read his book, The Experience Economy. He is like a demigod to designers around the world, and we get him. He is part of the exhibitor experience. He's a longtime teacher and really kind of force behind exhibitor itself. And honestly, we are really fortunate to have him around.
Yeah, you're right. And he's now our chief experiential architect, and we get to work with him on a weekly basis. And like you said, at the end of each week, I know I'm smarter from spending some time with him. And he's got some new views of things. Look, I think, is his new book that he talks about how you look at things, and just insightful. He's such a great observer, and he
Yes.
translates that into phenomenal insights that it just makes you really wonder. And again, we've been doing an awful lot with him the last several weeks that are going to show up strongly next year as we continue and have more runway to make some of these changes. But this whole year, everything from the awards to, it's like you said, it's been revitalized. It's not tore apart, start over. There's a lot of great work that's been done over the last 30 plus years, like you said, almost 40, but it's time to change as things move forward with it. And there's been a lot of work with the group. Very excited about what you guys have done and accomplished. And I'm excited for the show. I think it's going to be a phenomenal show with the team. And we've got some surprise announcements coming at the event too. So it's going to be kind of fun from that perspective.
Mark, another thing that kind of impresses me, which I'm really proud to say we're doing, is there's more work now than before to collaborate with other industry organizations. So we're working more with IFAS, with HCEA, and others. And not that we didn't do this before, but again, we're putting it on steroids. We're pushing it harder than before. And it kind of led me to what I hope is kind of an epiphany about what's going on with the organization now. All roads lead to Rome. And right now, all roads in the exhibition industry are starting to lead to Exhibitor Live and Exhibitor Group. We're trying to give the tools on all these fronts for people, whatever their needs are going to be, to augment face-to-face marketing. So hence, you'll see us overseas conducting awards at these various international shows. You'll see us at World Expos. You'll see us, we're going to be involved with EDPA Midwest meeting coming up. We're doing more outside broadcasts to kind of get out of those self-limiting confines sometimes of the exhibition industry, as big as it is, but to kind of have that hybrid experience with other industries, with other people out there, so that we can have a more worldly, universal view for people. And I've always thought that was one of our strengths, so let's play to it.
No, and there is direct education for each of those associations that they've brought to us. And I'm excited about that. And there's a forum that's going to be working with just the industries on some of the main initiatives, workforce, sustainability, a lot of things that we're going to be working with those associations on the show floor and actually have that in the town square. So it is. I love that it has been a place to bring the voices together because we're all in the same industry, and how do we work together to make sure that we not only continue to be successful and thrive, but how do we really shoot to the forefront and make sure everybody sees this industry and how we can be productive for our end customers.
I agree with you on that, because there's an essential reason here. Many people, in my experience in the exhibition industry, the exhibition marketers, they feel isolated. Sometimes there's a lack of respect in their companies because it's as if they're a second tier form of marketing when the reality is anything but. So they come to us to get more education, but I think to kind of network with people who can reinforce the importance of what they do and, if you will, a little bit of a glamour of what they do. We have world-class designers. We have world-class marketing efforts. History itself goes through trade shows. Without trade shows, your normal everyday life would be vastly different because of what they popularized and made possible in the world. So if there's one thing that's kind of a softer touch, I hope that's something we do for people, that we give them a sense of how much your job, your industry actually changes the world.
And that's the one thing, probably the number one thing we've heard from the CTSM graduates is it gets them a seat at the table. They now have some credibility. They have a voice. They've got a background in education. They've always had an importance. And like you said, it gets way overshadowed or downplayed, but it is such a strong value in our industry and in our society. Like you said, there isn't anything that we all don't have that we're not using that didn't hit this trade show floor one time or another. So.
And with CTSM, I believe the numbers now, we have more than 4,000 CTSM graduates. And there's been a diaspora of them, throughout the whole industry. And of course, one of the highlights of the show every year is the reception. And there is one this year, another really lovely and, if I may say, I believe elegant reception will be on Sunday at 4:30 for those who don't know, in the Canal Foyer during the show. So, or rather before the show opens up on Monday officially. So, by all means, please do attend that, because there's something there that, again, you are among your peers. You get to network with them. Or as someone is using the phrase today, net weave, which I kind of like, because it's showing about that kind of cat's cradle of connections that we can make in this industry, and which I think Exhibitor is really good for at the show. And speaking of which, by the way, there's something we're relaunching, and I neglected to mention this early on. One of the most popular things we did, before COVID, was the peer-to-peer receptions, where we kind of met on small tables to talk about many topics, 10, 15, 20 different topics. This year, we're bringing it back as a lunch that'll take place on Monday, on February 26th, and will be in the Delta Ballroom, if I remember correctly. And there'll be about 25 different topics people can talk about, you can sign up for. So for instance, there's bread and butter. That is event metrics. There's exhibiting on a limited budget. Who doesn't have that problem? There's trade show activations. And there's also the use of unique and emerging technology within the exhibit space. And yours truly is going to host that. So I'm really looking forward to it, because I love the fact that I know everyone will be talking about AI and Apple's new VR visor and all that. So it'll be a chance to see what people need to know, what they've done already, and where are the tools to help me along on this. And that's really a gratifying part of it, when people can walk away feeling like I was empowered to do this with this peer-to-peer group. And again, it's a lovely, fun, convivial situation where it's, let your hair down, have some fun, but you'll walk away, like Jim Gilmore, smarter than you were before.
Well, and the other part we want to make sure people don't forget is the closing party, the closing event that we have on Wednesday. This is where we're bringing the CTSM graduate recognition in there and the exhibit awards together. And before, they've been separated. And as we talked about on an earlier podcast, the groups really need, like you said, that network or net weaving as it comes together. So now the exhibitors get to see their awards and how they're doing well, but the CTSM people who are coming to see and find partners get to highlight, hey, that's a good program, that's an award winning, I want to work with that organization. And vice versa. If I'm a supplier, I'm an exhibitor, I now get to see those that are graduating with the CTSM program. I can start building a relationship with them and hopefully do business with them down the road. So it's a fun event. There's some activities going on there too that I think are going to be enjoyable, with some music and entertainment. But we want to make sure people stick around and don't head out of town early. Stay that Wednesday night. Make sure you get to come to that activity and create the network in the community we're looking to develop.
Mark, there's something that I really want to congratulate ourselves on with this. And I should say, the new exhibitor. We never really thought before about combining these. They seem to be their siloed worlds, and that seemed natural. fair enough, right? Because at first blush, you could say they have their unique needs, so why not keep them separate? But I think there's a kind of synergy that happens when you bring them together. And it also kind of creates a tipping point of energy. So, for instance, if area 1 is a little smaller than area 2, great. Combining them brings a lot more energy there. And we call it the award ceremony, but I was sort of thinking of this, frankly, as Party Central, because I think that's about what it's going to be. And, we'll have the top 40 awards. We'll have the CTSM, recipients, Best of Show awards. And we'll have, as usual, best small booth, best large booth, best booth staff, best new exhibitor. And these are a delight to give out because of the ingenuity we get to honor. But we're adding exhibitor's choice, kind of a, whatever one we like personally will get there. And sometimes they're different than the mainstream. Sometimes it's someone we think did something extremely clever and we want to pay homage to them for it. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I think this is, frankly, this is kind of like combining the Grammys and the Oscars together. It's putting together separate groups that you don't always think should be together, but I think it's going to be a hit.
I agree. Well, Mike, we've been monopolizing the conversation, and you've had many years of experience too. Is there any questions that or topics you want to make sure we cover?
The only one, excuse me, there goes that voice thing again. The only one that comes to mind that, I've done probably 22 or 23 of these myself. And on the supply side, and I'm not going to speak for the supply side, but I hear so many people reverberate this statement over and over, that's such a word, over and over again. And that is, I don't go because it's the same thing over and over again. It's the same show and I'm too busy, or I've got to do this, or if I go, I'll go because I'm doing another show across town. And that was the thing in Vegas, right? Because it was easy to do. I think that is, Charles, I think what's exciting about what you're talking about is, even from supply side, especially from the CTSM side and attendee side, is that everybody should be feeling this vibe of, hey, it's not the same old thing, and God bless the previous regime. I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, right? I'm just saying the show kind of had its cruise control attitude to it. If there's, it kind of had that feeling to it. And I think right now what's happening is this new resurgency of, hey, it's going to be different. And I think taking it to Nashville, doing the different things and being experiential and talking about the very applicable today's world in all of these subject matters and sessions, I think that's going to be the big driving point. I look forward to this year being different than any other year that I've seen. And just a whole lot better around the world, across the board. That's my take on this. I don't really have a question, but I do have a summary after listening to what you've had to say, and it's got me excited, and that's hard to do for an old guy like me.
Well, Mark and Mike, if I could just kind of chime in here. I have one unique perspective. Now, I've been here 22 years. I've been going for 22 years. But also as a writer, we attend the sessions, the educational sessions. I've attended roughly 250 of them throughout my life. That's a lot of sessions. But one thing I've noticed, and I touched on this earlier, is that we're hitting the touch points people want, from self-development, self-care, to the harder stuff like AI. Julia Solaris, one of the premier trend forecasters in the industry, he'll be teaching this year. And I love the guy. I love the guy's writing. And I got to say, what's the difference between Julia Solaris and a crystal ball? His predictions come true. And when you go to his classes on trend forecasting, I think you're going to find it to be eminently useful, eminently powerful, and it will give you another tool to work with in the industry. So I would tend to agree with you about cruise control. And right now we're in a situation where we're taking advantage of a crisis. Crisis was COVID and the post-COVID world. Don't let a crisis go to waste. Reinvigorate the show, as Mark said, revitalize it, add new aspects, change it up a little bit. That's what we're doing. Now, Can we do more? Sure. Will we do more? Yep. In the next few years, I think we have a lot more going on that people are going to be pleasantly surprised by. But this is what I love most about it, is seeing this curve upward of adding more features.
You got to have a crawl, walk, run sense of this, and it's almost going from a crawl to a semi-run, maybe a jog. But everything I'm hearing has me excited, and I know from my standpoint, our company standpoint, and I'm sure others as well, as I look at the show floor from a show floor perspective, it's picking up, it's filling up, and that's great. That's great news. We all want to be successful, but we all can't be successful unless everybody's pitching in and being a part of the ecosystem of the show itself. And I think that's important. I know you come from the writer side and the CTSM session side that I don't get really to see. But just hearing that it's excitement coming from there makes me excited and very happy about the money that we've spent to be a part of what's going on. And Mark, I'm just tickled pink and ready to go. I wish it was next week, to be honest with you, because I'm ready, because I'm getting old and I don't know how much time I got left, and I need to get out there quick and get it while the getting's good. Any final words, Mark and Charles, before we wrap this one up?
Well, I'll let Charles end it, but I do think that I am very proud of what Charles and the team have put together. It really is the reinvention because of COVID. I mean, it was things that we had to do. Like you said, we've done a great job in the past. The team's done wonderful. It has been and will continue to be one of, if not the industry stop everybody should make. It's a chance to get together with all aspects of the industry. And as Charles highlighted, we're embracing even more associations now, more of the industry perspectives of it, and bringing more of that community together. So I think it's going to be an incredible show. And like I said, then stay tuned. Next year, the year after, we've already got contracts in place. We'll be talking about those. But the work that we're doing as a team, some of it takes a little bit longer runway, and they're already got it in place for the year going forward. So more to come. And Charles, you've done a fabulous job. Oh, and also, you should highlight, you got the magazine coming out with the best of CES. That's one of the highlights for you guys.
We do. It's one of the most fun to do because we highlight what we feel are the top 20 exhibitors there. Now, that's all under wraps, so mum's the word. But I have to say, check in for the April-May issue on it, because you're going to be gobsmacked by some of the things you see and what people did. It's eye candy, and it's a real treat. And just on a closing note about the show, I'd like to say, and I think this is without too much exaggeration, that what people feel about what AI is doing to society and what a tool it is to use, that's what I think Exhibitor Live is now becoming to the industry. It is that ultimate tool you want in your back pocket. Come and see us and see for yourself.
It's a great discussion with Charles Pappas here on the Exhibitor Now podcast. Take a quick break. Mark and I will come back and wrap things up for this week after this.
Are you searching for trade show and event products and services? Find It on Exhibitor Exchange is your complete buyer's guide to trade show exhibiting and events, featuring the trade show industry's top exhibit and display providers. Find It on Exhibitor Exchange is the industry's best shopping and commerce resource for buyers and sellers of exhibit and event products and services. Reaching 20,000 exhibit and event buyers in every print issue of Exhibitor magazine, and 140,000 exhibit and event buyers online each year. Search the listings or list your company today. Learn more at exhibitoronline.com/findit.
Wow, Mike, I just can't tell you enough how much I enjoy Charles. I wish I could be Charles in the future life. I mean, he is so articulate, such a history, such a gentle but wise man, and just a great interview. He's done an awful lot for the industry. He's done an awful lot for Exhibitor for the number of years he's been involved in it, and very excited about it. And as we highlight through it, yes, there's some things that are coming with it. Deadlines have crossed. The hotel block has been closed. We hit our numbers. There's still some rooms available there, but we're really seeing some great results going so far with it. We're excited about it.
Absolutely, and it's creeping us up on us. It's 3 weeks from today that most people will be either flying in or driving in. I'm fortunate; it's right down the road, a 3-hour drive that I'll be able to drive up there and take part. With a lot of ancillary events happening, and as you heard in that interview, it's really going to be exciting, and it's the place to be at the end of February at Exhibitor Live from the Exhibitor Group and the Exhibitor Now podcast.
And remember,
The Exhibitor Now podcast. Give us 30 minutes, and we'll give you everything you need to know now.